Imagine a world where you knew that you mattered and you belonged. The people cared about you because we were so darn good at listening to one another, no matter how different we are. That is what Sidewalk Talk is doing by putting listeners on sidewalks all over the world so that we can practice the art of connecting. Join me, founder and director Traci as I interview experts on the fine art of human connection and interview some of our volunteers who've been listening on the sidewalk and even some of the folks that we've listened to. And if you want to volunteer, consider joining us at sidewalk-talk.org. What can I say about Thomas Knox? He's somebody that I consider a friend. He's significantly younger than me. He's only 33. He's a Brooklyn native. But like him, we both had difficult relationships with our mothers, and maybe that's what gives us this overcoming spirit. His mother was on drugs, and he actually ended up in a group home where he met other young men who were in the same predicament as he was. And it was really that brotherhood that ignited him into giving back. And so as he got older, he's just that guy that helps out kids. He actually still texts both my sons. And he gives guidance, he gives love, he gives encouragement. He is somebody that people look up to, including myself. And he, years ago, started to put a table and 2 chairs and a Connect 4 game on the subways of New York and started a project called Date While You Wait. And it got a lot of press coverage. And that's probably how Esther found him. All I know is that he's my friend and that he always has my back and that he really always has other people's back as well. So I'm excited to bring you Thomas Knox, and I want you to keep your eye on this guy because I will predict that Date While You Wait will be a syndicated TV series very, very soon. And we'll all feel very blessed that he even got to pitch in and help Sidewalk Talk out for a time. So without further ado, Thomas C Knox from Date While You Wait.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I introduce to you the infamous Thomas C Knox, the Connection Curator, Thomas!
Woo! So glad to be here. Thank you for having me. It was great. And that was a great introduction. Thank you.
Well, you primed me for that. You said, look, if I ever wanted someone to introduce me, it'd be you. So I decided to up our vibe because it's been a shitty ass day today, huh?
Yeah, it's been tough. But you did a great job.
So how about if we just agree that if there's any points during this conversation that you want to drop in and you need a little love transfusion, that I'm up for that. I can listen, I can love on you, whatever we need to do here, yeah?
That's fair. Yeah, I appreciate it. That is, yes, 100%.
So you and I met because I feel like we are kindred spirits in some way. There's something about the world that you and I hold in common. And I got to understand, why are you as weird as I am and you want to go do weird stuff like pull up a card table and chairs and put this beautiful Gerber daisy and a Connect 4 board and play Connect 4 with Zoe Kravitz and, people getting on and off the New York subway. Why the heck did you do that, Thomas?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it was just all because I really, really yearn connections. I'm someone who needs to connect with people and in person. I need to have one-on-one interactions. And I think it was just based on that, me finding a way to connect with people, knowing that or seeing that they were looking for the same.
Yeah. So give folks a little background that have never heard your story before. So tell them where you're from and how this whole thing started and give them the timeline.
Yeah, so I'm originally, born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. Grew up there all through pretty much all my life. And I ended up going to high school in Staten Island, New York. And then from there, I got a job working for Apple pretty much right out of high school, probably about 21, 22. So I worked for Apple for about 6, 7 years, and my whole journey through Apple, connecting with people is something that we did on a daily basis. So I found myself really connecting with people through technology, but wanted to do it in other ways. So I always used to volunteer at different organizations. Like I've done stuff with nursing homes. I've created little projects here and there where I just wanted to connect with people. And back in 2015, I was on the phone with a friend of mine. She was telling me about her commute home. We were supposed to meet for dinner. And I was about to leave work, and I was on my way home, and I got a call from her, and she was like, my commute home was terrible. I don't want to go out anymore. I'm not in the mood. And I was like, what happened? And she was like, when I got on the subway, there was people performing, and I just wanted to get home. Like, I had a long day. So I got off, waiting for the next train, and then there was a homeless person on the train. That smelled, the smell really bothered me. So then I got off again, and then there were people selling things on the train. She was like, I just wanted to get home, and I'm just not in the mood to hang out anymore. So in that moment, I asked her, I said, it just kind of clicked in my head. I was like, what if I did something where I did something positive, where I connected with people in the subway? And she was like, I don't want to hear that. It's a terrible idea. Don't do it. So then I let it go. I was like, cool, whatever. I let it go. And then about maybe 2 or 3 days later, I shared it with two of my really good friends. And they were like, hey, man, you are the perfect person for this. You have the perfect personality. Let's make it happen. And we sat down, we put it together, put the idea together, and hit the subway like 2 weeks later. So, yeah.
Hey, do you mind if I share a video to everyone of you doing this?
Oh, no, not at all. Please.
I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna do it right now.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. I'm just gonna share with everyone.
Yeah, I definitely don't do it.
Sometimes the hustle and bustle of your subway commute can be overbearing, but one man's trying to change that, one date at a time.
Uh-oh. Is it giving me a hard time?
It looks like it might have to load.
Oh. Oh. It's loading.
Meet Thomas Knox, a 29-year-old New Yorker who's taking meeting new people to a whole new level.
Essentially, I wanted to create something that gave people the ability to connect. After having conversations with my friends and my family around the commute and pretty much how it can be very, very negative, I wanted to do something positive to give people something to do while they're waiting for the train.
Last summer, Knox did just that by creating Date While You Wait, a weekly conversation area on subway platforms across New York City where strangers sit at Knox's portable table and chairs and socialize with him.
I don't bother people. I'll sit here. The train station can be full. If a person wants to sit down, they're more than welcome. If not, I'm totally fine with that. It doesn't matter who you are. As long as you're comfortable with having a conversation with a stranger, you're more than welcome to have a seat. And then you're more than welcome to have a seat and not even talk. We can play a game just because the game is here and I'm bringing you back to your childhood. A lot of times people sit down, they play the game, and after they play, they want to talk. So it definitely opens people's up and kind of get them going from there.
Now, some people will think you're...
So I'm going to stop sharing here. So that's you.
Thank you so much for that. It felt so good seeing. Like, I haven't watched a video of me doing Date While You Wait in so long. Thank you. Like that, I really needed that. Thank you so much.
I'm really glad. I'm glad I think we all needed that today. And you know what it reminded me? So last week we had a guest on named Brad Montague, and you and he share so much in common, which is it's like you both, like in his art, and I feel like it's for you with your smile. There's a way in which both you gentlemen share the same quality of reaching right inside of people and grabbing out their little kids. Like whenever I'm around you, and that's why my sons love you, you reach right inside of people and get them to remember the little kid in them and say, look, there is this really innocent, good part of you that you have forgotten about. And I am going to be damn sure that you are not going to leave my presence today until you remember that part of you. That's how I always feel when I'm around you. Where does this come from, and how can I get some of that?
Well, growing up, I grew up, I guess some more of the backstory. When growing up, my mom was on drugs. So I've been in and out of like group homes and the foster care system. And, luckily my parents are total opposites. So my dad, he's never smoked. He's never the drinks. He's never done anything. He's kind of been a straight arrow, handling his business, making sure he had, he take care of the family. And my mom was kind of all over the place, when I was younger. So as I was going through, my childhood and going through my adolescence, I kept having different moments in my life where connection and relatability helped me get to the next level. And some instances of that is like when I was in a group home, all boys group home. And I remember when I first got there, what made me connect with the other young men there were a lot of them were going through similar things I was going through with my mom, but they were all different races. They were from all different parts of the city. Some of them could be Spanish, some of they were Asians. It was just different. There were different groups of cultures, but we all had that in common that we came from broken homes, and that helped us build a bond and create a brotherhood from that. And then when I got to high school, I ended up connecting with my guidance counselor. Finding out that she was from Brooklyn, and we found ways to relate. She used to share stories with me about her childhood, and I hated school. Like I wasn't really into school, but I would go and reconnect with her because just that connection and being able to hear her stories. And people would never know it. A lot of people say when they meet me, they're like, "There's no way you've gone through these experiences," but it's all true. I definitely have, and it's what made me who I am today.
Yeah. Well, and you talk a lot about, so when you say broken home, I'm going to be a little vulnerable here. Can I pry a little bit, Thomas?
Sure. Yeah, pry away.
Pry away. When you say broken home, in particular, some challenges came up with your mom. So say a little bit with us about your relationship with your mom and how that process of relationship with her broke down.
So I think I'm the oldest of four. At that time, it was just me and my younger brother. What's interesting about that dynamic is my younger brother, my dad's sister, my aunt, ended up taking my younger brother, and then me, because I was a little older, it was just harder for her to kind of maintain with me because I was a wild child, I was a mama's boy. Even though my mom was doing what she was doing, I just was very deeply into making sure she was good, and I was like attached to her at the hip. Like she used to always tell me she couldn't even use the bathroom without me like knocking or kicking at the door as a kid. So that dynamic never changed. I always always looked to the good in her and believed that she would get herself together. And she, over time, like she's been clean now probably like 15 years. So I'm very proud of her and the work that she's put in. But back in those times, I was very angry, I was very rebellious. I used to run away a lot. I got into a lot of fights. So I remember her putting me into summer camp. Yeah, I used to fight all the time. All the time. Yeah, absolutely. I got into fights with kids who they would say something negative about my mom. They'd be like, your mom's pretty, and I'll fight them because they said something about my mom. I was just one of those kids. Like I said, as I got older, I started to be surrounded with people who really cared for me. And another thing too, my dad definitely deserves a lot of credit in it as well, because even though he worked and he had to take care of being an adult and being there for his kids, he's always been there for us, and he's always been there for me. And he never let his relationship with my mom get in the way of that. So yeah, I'm thankful for that. But I've just always been a mama's boy. I'm still a mama's boy. To this day, if someone does something wrong to my mom, I will jump to her defense. That's just how I am.
Well, this is a perfect segue because I kind of led you down this path. We were talking before this broadcast about Mother's Day coming up on Sunday, and maybe the mama boy streak continues because you do something incredibly sweet for Mother's Day. Would you be willing to share with our viewers what you have done to over 50 mothers? So you're surprising them with what?
Yeah, Mother's Day cards. So I guess a little backstory. Every year, what I do since I started doing Date While You Wait is on Mother's Day I would do a Date While You Wait, and I would fill out cards and leave notes. And literally, while I'm sitting in the subway, I would hand cards to moms to give them a flower. and I'll say Happy Mother's Day, But this year, with us being in self-isolation and social distancing, I reached out to a car company, Love Pop, and I asked them would
Love
they be
pop.
interested in doing Love Pop, yeah, it's the name of the brand. I asked them would they be interested in donating cards, and they end up sending me 300 cards. Now, there's no way I can hand out 300 cards. So what I then did is reached out to my audience on social media, and I was like, hey guys, would love to send you cards or send cards to someone you care about, someone you love. It doesn't specifically have to be for Mother's Day, but these are more so for Mother's Day, but it doesn't have to be. And I've been able to send out over 50. I mean, the messages that I'm getting from people are just incredible. And the cards look just like this. Love Pop. They make cards that actually come out like Omagami. So this one is a butterfly.
Wow.
And it literally folds out.
Beautiful.
So it's like a big
What does it say
surprise.
on what does it have on the front?
It shows like a cool design.
Flower. Yeah. Amazing.
But they sent me about 6 different types. So they sent me a couple of baby bears. So those are ones that I sent out to first time moms. So every first time mom got that card. And in the card, I just wrote. I got to memorize what I wrote because I wrote it 50 times. But it just said celebrating on a special day, celebrating the amazing mom that you are, sending you lots of joy and kindness on your special day. Happy Mother's Day. And I just want to do something kind for moms. I think moms, we're lucky to have them, and we wouldn't be here without our moms. And, our relationships may be strained. Like you may have a strained relationship with your mom. She may be your best friend, still your mom. And I feel the same thing for dads. But right now, I'll probably do something special for Father's Day as well. But we'll see how that goes.
Well, but right now we're focused on moms. That's so
Yeah,
sweet.
love moms.
That's so sweet.
Thanks. And I
you're kind of sweet to me.
I also was very, very encouraged and inspired by all of this. I had these cards and I wasn't going to do anything with them. I was just going to hold on to them until next year or until we got back to normal, hopefully. But when I saw what we were doing with these random acts of connections, I was inspired to do something now, even though I'm home, even though I can't connect with people in the way that I usually would connect with them. What can I do to still spread kindness? And, walking to the post office and putting stamps on a card, it takes nothing. So it's something that I was inspired to do by what, we're doing here at Sidewalk Talk.
Yeah. And for those of you that don't know, we're wanting to instigate all of you to get in on the action like Thomas is. If you saw our video in the listener group yesterday, you have to be a member to get it. But one of our listeners has a 93-year-old dad who was quite depressed. And so she went on his alma mater's website and got 200 people to mail him cards in his home. And so we're trying to instigate random acts of connection. And I think Thomas's Mother's Day cards has inspired me. We have a senior citizens home literally 200 yards away from my house. So I think my son and I on Sunday are going to go drop off cards or bundt cakes there and ask the doorman, can you just, because they can't leave right now, so while quarantine has been lifted, they're asking folks at risk to still stay indoors. So you really inspired me with this. So great. It's so touching to me.
Yeah, it's all about paying it forward, right? And for me, the accolades and all the recognition I get, it's nice and I greatly appreciate it. But the best recognition is people enjoying it, and the people that are thankful for it. They don't have to tell me. The best way to give back is to pay it forward, do it for somebody else. Put a smile on somebody else's face. So that's something that really matters to me.
Yeah. Well, and it's a rough time for folks, right? It's Mental Health Awareness Month. You and I are talking after the shootings of 2 young African American men have occurred in the U.S., although they're non-U.S. folks watching this. You also shared with me that your apartment building caught fire this week, and and then you had someone very dear to you pass away. So it has been quite a week. And I guess the question that I have for you is, how do you take care of yourself? And I ask this because I imagine what you're going to share right now is going to serve other people that are watching or that will watch who might also be having a shit day today or a shit week or have lost their job or wherever they are. And I imagine you've learned something over the years from all the things you've been through. How do you sustain yourself here?
Yeah, it's a great question, and you kind of showed and shared some of that, sharing that video. So I tend to go backwards, and I tend to look at the past and see, go back to happy times and happy places. So what I did yesterday is I opened up my yearbook, and I think I told you this in the past, but I do it pretty often. I open up my yearbook and I read the notes from high school, from middle school. I look at the photos. There's one specific note that my grandmother wrote me about how proud she was of me, and those are things that kind of get me re-energized. I also look at videos on YouTube, not so much motivational videos, but videos that have relevance to what's happening, in that time for me. So I have a list of videos that I look at that, like I have a video that's all about getting up, get up and do. And it starts off with when your alarm clock goes off in the morning. A lot of people turn and they reset it, or they tap the button and they go back to sleep. And in some ways, you're starting off on the wrong foot. And if you can challenge yourself to get up in that moment, the rest of your day is starting off on the right foot. It's like making your bed. So every now and then I listen to that videos, and I have a series of videos that support me in that. But during this quarantine isolation time, I just try to go outside, and I obviously I'm not in crowds, but I try to walk around my neighborhood, take in the sun, breathe in some fresh air. I think it's important to just enjoy that moment, And so I try my best to be thankful to be able to walk around and not be in a place where I have to be distanced to a point where I can't even go outside. And I'm just being thankful for what I have. There's a lot of people out there who are struggling and are trying to figure out the next move, and to have a roof over my head, even though, like you said, we had a fire, in our complex. Thank God it didn't affect us directly. Like we have some smoke damage. That's about it. But there are other people in our complex that are now out of homes, that I think about, and it hurts me a little bit. So I'm just trying to be mindful of where I am and be thankful for what I have, and opportunities like this to be able to share my story and so on.
Yeah. Well, and I can also imagine part of the process for you is also being grateful. You've talked a lot about being grateful, and I'm going to go that vulnerable route again. So if you don't want to go here, tell me. But
Sure.
I would like to create space to honor this dear friend of yours that passed, and let us celebrate his life, because I know that you are going to miss him, but maybe one of the greatest ways that we can be community members with you is to celebrate his life with you. Do you want to share something about him with us?
Sure, yeah. So he's his name's Lloyd Porter. He's actually well known in the community in New York and Brooklyn and the Bed-Stuy area. He actually is the brother of a famous jazz musician or singer, Gregory Porter, his brother. And he owned a restaurant called Bread Love in Brooklyn, and they have since moved on before this to more catering opportunities. So the restaurant had closed down. But the reason he's so important to me, he had such profound profound impact on me, was one day I went to his restaurant. I didn't know him, probably like 4 years ago, let's say 2016, for the first time. And I'm eating food, and I had a bow tie, one of my bow ties on, and he stopped me. He's a big bow tie guy. And he said, "Where'd you get that from?"
Can you pull one up while you're telling the story?
I have to like leave and go get
Okay.
one. So
I won't. No, never mind. Keep going.
Okay, I'll have one in front of me. I'm sorry.
Back to Lloyd.
So I was wearing one of my bow ties, and he stopped me. He's like, "Where'd you get that from?" And I'm like, "Hey, I made it." He's like, "Wow, you made that? It's so unique." And what's interesting about it is that he tells me how much he loves bow ties, and obviously the bow ties he loves the core bow ties. My bow ties are made out of scrabble. So he's like, "Man, I need one of those." And he ended up buying the bow tie off my neck and 2 additional ones. So I ended up making him 2 other ones. But it didn't stop there. He ended up like inviting me to his house. He started, introducing me to other people in the neighborhood that were in the fashion space. So they were kind of giving me insight on how I can better my product. And it was just a level of care that he didn't have to give me. He could have just been like, hey, I'm going to buy boats. I'll see you later. So every time I would go back home, I would literally stop at the restaurant, get some food and catch up with him. And then once the restaurant closed, we kind of haven't connected as much. And then I moved. So now I live in another city. But when I heard that he passed, it just hurt me because he's a pioneer in the community. He took care of everybody. He showed everybody love. And we definitely lost a great person, like especially when it comes to just having a good heart. And it really hurts me because there's so many people out there that we've lost due to this virus. And nobody deserves to go out that way. Nobody. I don't care who you are. No one should have to mourn, especially in the moment where you may be in isolation. Maybe it's your husband, maybe it's your wife, and now you go back home and you're just by yourself. You have no support, in the flesh there with you, and you might need a hug. You might need to connect, and you can't do that because we're all social distancing. So, I think about his wife and his children in this time. And, he had a great life. He did a lot for me, and I'm going to take that as I move forward and throughout my career and as an entrepreneur. I'm going to remember those moments and hopefully do them proud.
Lloyd Porter, Thomas C Knox is going to do you proud. Really sweet. Oh, Lloyd. I have a feeling that a little bit of Lloyd lives on in you anyway,
Yeah, I feel it. I see it. It's interesting because a lot of what my companies are about and my lifestyle is about is being relatable. I talk about that a lot. Relatable. Because if you find something
tell us
that
what
you can
that means.
I just believe that everyone has something in them that someone else has, but we fight it, and it can be, what I tell my students when I teach, I'm like, what is one thing every person has in common? And they're racking their brains out. I'm like, we were all born, and they're like mind blown. Yeah, they're mind blown. They're like, oh, Mr. Knox, and I'm just saying, like, once we identify what we have in common, it's easier for us to relate. And we don't have to agree when we relate, but it allows us to be on the same page. And it can be talking about sports. It can be talking about family. It can be talking about, your glasses, right? If we both got glasses from the same place, it's easiest for us to have dialogue around it. You might share your story about you trying yours on. I might share my story about going through the process. So I've always believed that if I can find a way to relate with people, I can get them to tell me, or not so much tell me anything, but I can get them to be vulnerable and share what they're really feeling, because there's a level of comfortability when you can relate with someone.
Yeah. What do you think is the impact on the world if we're all a little more vulnerable and a little more relatable with one another?
I think there would just be more understanding and more empathy and more acknowledgement, but understanding more than anything. You think about, I don't know if I've ever shared this with you, but DYUA has given me many opportunities, tons. And I got an opportunity to go to Paris, France, to speak at a conference. And when I got there, a friend of mine here in the U.S., she connected me with a friend there. That way I had someone to show me around when I got there. And he and I went out to dinner. And it's a white gentleman. While we were at dinner, he says to me, how does it feel to be a Black American in Paris? And I told him, I said, it was fine. Like, at that point, I was there for like, so fine.
Yeah.
And he said, well, it's funny you say that, because a lot of my African American friends that come to Paris, they see how people of color are treated here, and it bothers them. And I said, tell me a little bit more. He was just saying that there's a lot of, and I won't go deeply into it, but there's a lot of animosity toward people coming from Africa migrating to France. And he said, he said, it's just crazy to me how it doesn't bother you. I said, well, first off, it's not that it doesn't bother me, but I'm the type of person that if someone hates me, if someone says to me, I hate black people, I want to know why. I want to sit with that person. I want to dissect that. I want to understand it. I don't want to just judge or assume. I don't agree with that person's point of view, but I also think it's fair for me to educate myself on why they feel the way they feel. And, once they let me know, hey, I feel this way because maybe their mom was murdered by an African American. Like I don't know their story, right? So I think for me, I may not agree with what you do or what you say or your beliefs, but if I understand it, I can respect it, and it creates a level of relatability because I understand it. Now we both understand each other for us to continue to move forward in our friendship, relationship, or just being an acquaintance. So that was something that he found very profound. He's like, I wish more people thought like that. The world would be a better place. But I just think it's important that we keep that same energy when we're looking at things we don't understand. You follow what your parents do. Like my parents may tell me not to do this my whole life, but at some point I have to educate myself on maybe why they didn't want me to do it, and not just take their word. So.
Yeah. Well, it sounds to me like you're willing to go into really uncomfortable conversations where you might even be the subject matter that's being criticized or belittled or put down. But rather than taking any of it personally, you're strong enough in yourself and your confidence and your sense of safety and right to be there that you're more interested in understanding why the heck do you feel that way? Like, what informed that frame of reference? Tell me more. And I think it takes some serious cojones to be that kind of person. I think I am too, in certain circumstances, and then I'm pretty wimpy in others. So I think it's admirable, and I imagine some people won't agree with you, right? I have folks that say, hey, you shouldn't talk to somebody that's a racist, or you shouldn't, engage with anybody that has any sort of prejudice. I remember, Thomas, I'll share this story because I've never shared this with you. On our road tour, when we listened across the United States, one of our listeners listened to somebody who shared with her that Hitler was his hero, was his idol, and she's Jewish. So I was like, how's this going to go down, right? And she actually did exactly what you did. She said, tell me more. Like, how is it that Adolf Hitler is your hero? And what unraveled was a story of this young person that was actually living on the street who had been so severely abused, and actually he knew a lot about Hitler, but for him it was his wrapped up anger at the history of abuse that he received and wanting retribution for that and idolizing someone that could potentially go, get his abusers. Now I'm not trying to give this guy a hall pass, but she said, gosh, I could have gotten defensive, but I learned a whole heck of a lot more vulnerable information about this guy. And I thought that was really profound. And I imagine that he was left changed on the same level that she was left changed. So I appreciate you highlighting that. And it's a stretch. It's a stretch for sure. So listen, I want to give you a shout out and plug. What are you building now? So you've had all these opportunities. And first of all, can we say that, we're running a fundraiser right now for Sidewalk Talk? And Thomas is part of our paid staff. So you've got to donate some buckaroonies because Simple Practice and A Good Place Therapy have offered us some matching. And you're one of the 4 people we pay around here. You have decided to dedicate some of your connection love, even though you've got 3 companies of your own?
I do. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot happening.
You give some of your time to Sidewalk Talk to help us grow. So just so you know, you wonder where your money goes to. He's one of them. But where the heck are your companies now, and what's going on? You've got Be Great Bow Ties, which is Lloyd Porter's, where he lives on in you.
Yeah, show me love. Yeah, Be Great Bow Ties. My other company is Date While You Wait, which is transitioning. So we're working on building out a TV show. So exactly what you saw in that video, we're looking to put it on tape and create a shot of it and share with the world. That way people can be inspired to have similar dialogue and conversations. So we're working on that. And then the company that kind of grew from all that is called the Connection Collective. It's a collective of initiatives that I do that are all focused on connection through education, through events. So what we do is we go into schools and we have workshop programs where we teach kids how to create better human connection, what I call are the 3 C's of human connection, which is confidence, courage, and communication. And so we teach students that. I do a couple of different events. So one is called Food for Thought. So we dissect music over a 4 or 5 course meal. So I have a bunch of different things that I've created through the years. And right now it's obviously been a challenge to be able to move forward with a lot of them because a lot of my work is in person. And I'm not one to really be creating online presence. But I will say that my mindset is more so to build and to be flexible, to learn what the opportunities are, than to just shut them down and say no. So that's something that I'm going through right now. And there's just a lot of kind of little intricacies that I'm trying to figure out what next steps need to happen. So that's what I spend a lot of my time on outside of what I do with Sidewalk Talk.
Well, I know that we appreciate you bringing your genius to our organization because we sure needed you and all of your social entrepreneurship chops in looking at the back end process, and this needs to be simplified and we need to do this different, and I appreciate all of that. So that's awesome. In this process or this time when so many of us are needing to learn to be more relatable, but it's harder now more than ever, is there one thought that comes to you from the connection? Is it the Connection Collaborative?
Connection Collective.
The Connection Collective.
Yeah.
What are, because you're bringing together all these different connection projects under your collective. What's one thing that you can think of that we could all take up, even though we're all this far away from each other, that could help us relate, even though we're far away?
Yeah, well, the biggest thing, it's funny you asking about this because I literally just had a conversation with somebody. We were supposed to do an event, and I won't go deeply into it, but it was a photo walk. And the goal of the photo walk, which is you go out and you take photos, and you may walk, a couple miles and you take photos while you're out. So the goal of this particular photo walk was to take photos of strangers, but to do it with their permission, right? So you needed to engage them first before you took the photo. And we're going to do it at some point. But the reason I bring that up is that's exactly what I think we need to take away with everything that's going on right now. We need to challenge ourselves to do things that we won't normally do, right? So I'm all about connecting with people in person, but how can I connect with people online, right? Or you may be someone who, I don't know, maybe you're someone who loves to read books. You like to read storybooks to your students at schools. How can you maybe create a book club and share that online, or do a video? Finding ways to step out of your comfort zone. I think it's something big. You and I talk about all the time. Some of the videos that I've been tasked to do have been challenges for me, but I do them the best. I step out of my comfort zone and I try to do my best. And I can honestly say I've learned a lot, and I'm becoming more comfortable. So I would definitely say the one thing is, step out of your comfort zone, do things that you feel that you may have had a challenge with, that, you give it a try, see how it goes, and, journal it. I do a lot of journaling. I have notebooks all around my apartment. So write it down and write what works, write what doesn't work, and if it's a passion of yours, continue to develop it. And I guess that would be it. Yeah.
God, I think that's stellar, spot on advice. I think that is stellar advice for this time, because we are going to have to stretch beyond our comfort zone because everything is different. And if we want to create a connected world, we're going to have to do it. I just love that, Thomas. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Hey, while I've got you, I've got a few comments. Lori Angris, who's one of our chapter leaders in LA, said, "I love Random Acts of Connection. It's beautiful." Said, "I love this man and his heart." Cherish says, I think getting outside is such great advice. Condolences for your loss. Bobby
Thank you.
Cohen says, Thomas, I love listening to you. Your energy and creativity and relatability are so inspiring and generate such good feelings in me. You are a gift to the world. So
Thanks,
you've got
Bobby.
some love coming your way. I love
I
it.
love you guys too.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to do a little plug for what we've got going on here. What you may not know is that this last little piece of advice from Thomas actually is partly inspiring something that we're going to do. It's also partly inspired by Bobby and something she shared that she was doing through her Jewish Community Center. We are, for those of you that are already part of our listener community, we are going to be making phone calls to other listeners to check in on each other. So we're going to start phone banking at Sidewalk Talk. There's going to be a script and you can sign up, and all of that's going to launch inside of our Facebook group next week. So if you are a Sidewalk Talk listener and you've signed up and donated to the mission of this project, you will be able to have access to some phone numbers and first names to call people up and just say, hey, I'm thinking about you. Do you want to be listened to? And it's just a way to stretch outside your comfort zone, like you said. And it's outside of our comfort zone as an organization, too. We've never done anything like this, but we're going to give it a shot. It's another way to connect with people that isn't just Zoom calls. People are feeling a little zoomed out,
Can I piggyback off that, what you're saying?
Yeah, of course.
So, as someone who's a part of the organization as well, I find it to be very powerful for us to be able to adapt to what's happening within the times. Our organization has been, as you know, primarily connecting with people in person. That's what we do. We listen to people in person. And for us to be able to adapt and come up with ways to still connect with our communities and still listen is something that, it's not easy. It can be a challenge. And, I'm really proud to be a part of an organization that realizes that there are people that still need our support and still need to be listened to. And it may not happen the ways that we're used to and we're comfortable with. But once again, we're encouraged to step out of our comfort zone and give it a try. And like I was saying, you can try it once and it doesn't work for you, and that's totally fine. But give it a try and share that feedback, and maybe we can figure out what other ways you can support, or what other ways, what other resources we can connect you with. So, I'm really proud of the work that we're doing, because we could have just been like, we're not listening outside anymore. Cool, shut down.
Let's take a break. Yeah.
Yeah,
Nope.
and we didn't do that. So.
Nope, and I am with you. And I just got a call from someone here in Heidelberg, and he says, you guys better get your buns rocking and rolling, because as quarantine goes on, people are going to need you more than ever. And Sidewalk Talk needs to be set up, because the mental health services in the United States can't support the influx, and you guys become a conduit to find, to help funnel people to the right sources, or just be a source of connection so that people don't need mental health services, because we just keep everyone healthy, which is also, my biggest goal. So yeah, I just want to say that it's time to get on the train. We're here, and it's a global community, and we'd really love to have you part of this project. And I think we've gotten organized enough to bring on a bunch of new people now too, and we're ready. So it's an exciting time. And yeah, people need it. People need it a lot. And Dina Olson just also commented. She said, thank you, Thomas. I appreciate hearing your loving viewpoint. And I just want to give Dina a shout out. She has had the most well-attended online listening group. She's had up to 25 people on her Friday afternoon listening group. She probably just got off one right before this. And I'm told that in one of her groups 2 weeks ago, someone pulled out their guitar and sang to the entire group of listeners and storytellers, "You've Got a Friend in Me," which I think is, just so completely exemplary of what this community feels like, is that people will just become like this little love balloon and pop fairy dust all over people. It's just awesome. I love it. I love it.
I'm gonna have to can't dismantle my companies and come on full time, because I'll be missing out on so much. There's so many incredible things that we having. Me being a part of the team one day a week, I'm like, I miss out on so much. But I'm really proud of the gang, man. You guys are doing so many amazing things. I'm just so proud when I go back in and I see the work that everybody's doing. I'm just like, man, I'm a part of this team. Like, just a beautiful thing. So all the love you guys are giving me right back at you.
Sweet. So a couple more plugs here, guys. I want to share with you what's coming up for Mental Health Awareness Month. If you're inside the listener group, you're going to have next week, Esther and Carrie are coming to you live to talk about boundaries. We're also going to have Aaron and probably with Kalyan to talk about feelings and sensations in your body when you're listening. And then the very last day, we're going to have Nitya, who is getting her master's in public health from Yale University. Actually, she just finished. She heads up their mental health care programs there, and she's a former tech leader in some Silicon Valley mental health companies, but she's been a longtime volunteer with SF Suicide, and she's going to be talking about suicide and how to actually listen and support someone when they're in a really dark place. And that's going to all be in our private listener group, so you need to be a member. Next week on Facebook Live, we're going to have Dr. Kelsey Crow, who wrote the book, There's No Good Card for This. We're going to be talking about how you show up for people in a really hard time. And then the following week, we're going to have DJ Filthy Drummond, Elliot Gann, who does beat making with inner city kids. And he's going to put on a live DJ show for us. He's also a psychologist that works with kids in schools, but he does it through using music, which, Thomas, you guys got to meet. You guys need to sync up for sure. And then after that, Rebecca Wong and her partner co-founded a team of 3,500 therapists that are volunteering their time to COVID first responders. They're going to come and talk about their project where they're actually supporting the community for free or low fee mental health services for nurses, doctors, grocery store clerks, our garbage drivers, the full gamut, providing low fee, no fee mental health services. So it's going to be a really cool Mental Health Awareness Month. And Thomas, thank you for being our second high profile Facebook Live guest. Woo! One last thing. We have a way that we close for our podcast and for these lives. I get out of the way and I let you speak directly to the Sidewalk Talk listeners that are watching now and that will watch this later. And you can either offer them a piece of advice or a wish as they listen in their lives.
Piece of advice or a wish?
In their own connection.
Yeah, no. I had something I wanted to say, but there wasn't enough.
No. Just take the floor.
Okay. Well, I guess my piece of advice will be a part of what I'm going to say, but
perfect.
Obviously people are saying it all over the world, but I have to say it again. Thank you to all the people that put their lives on the line every single day for what's happening with this coronavirus. You are greatly appreciated. I don't care where you are. I don't care what part of the world you're in, but if you're someone who's on the front lines of this, who puts your time, and you leave your homes, the safety of your homes to go and save lives, and make sure that people, or do your best to try to make sure that you're saving lives. You are appreciated. Thank you. We're lucky to have you. There's so many different things I can say that comes up to mind. It's just beyond me by how thankful I am for what you guys do every day. So thank you. And yeah, those of you who are listening, you have someone in your life who, you don't have the best relationship with, or you guys have gotten into, you may not talk as much. Now is the time to send them that text, to call them, to send them that card in the mail. Now's the time to do it. Yeah, trust me, they're gonna appreciate it more now than ever. So go ahead and do it. If you don't have a great speaking relationship with someone, send them a text. If you don't, if you're someone who, I sometimes have an ego problem depending on who I talk to, especially when it comes to my family. I find ways to reach out to them. It may not be a conventional way, but just show love, because we need it now more than ever.
Beautiful.
That's all I got.
Thank you so much for your time and so many good wishes from Dina, Bobby, Lori. Thank you, ladies, for your comments and love coming our way as well. And Thomas, you have a fantastic weekend. And you started this last time. I'm going to look you in the eyeballs. Are you ready? Can you take this in? Can you
I
take
love
us
you,
in?
Traci.
Can you do this? You did it before me. I just want you to know that I really love you.
I really love you as well.
All
I
right.
knew you were going to give me. I'll see you later.
All right. Have a good weekend.
Thank you for being here and listening to this episode of the Sidewalk Talk podcast. If you like what you heard, tell your friends, tell your family, like and comment on the podcast publisher that you're listening from, and subscribe. This will help us get the word out about changing our culture to one of connection.